So we'll make a start, and if anybody else's phones are on, it's good timing to turn them off. Thank you. So my name is Margie, and I'll be doing the next 3 Monday nights in November. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about meditation, what it is, why we might do it, and how to do it. So we'll do a couple of meditations together. So the fact that everybody's here tonight shows that you all believe that meditation is beneficial, that you've taken the time to come here. So, and maybe you know something even more about meditation than I do. So anyway, hope we enjoy the meditations we do together tonight. So basically meditation, the only thing really that meditation is about is eliminating the negative mind states in our mind and increasing the positive. So it doesn't matter how we do that, what sort of meditation we do, as long as it has that result, that your negative mind states go down or diminish completely in some cases, but at least diminish, and that your positive mind states are enhanced. So that's really the purpose, that's the outcome of meditation. And as everybody in this room is probably aware, there's lots of different methods and lots of science and religion behind meditation. So the purpose of doing the meditation, why we want to eliminate the negative mind states and increase the positive, is because the negative mind states cause agitation in our mind. So our mind becomes very agitated, and an agitated mind is an unhappy mind. So physically and mentally agitated. So your mind will impact you physically. Physically, you will also impact your mind, but more so the mind has a much more powerful impact on the body than the body on the mind. And so positive mind states, they cause peace in the mind. So the mind will naturally subside and go into a peaceful state. So again, that's again the purpose of meditation, is to bring a kind of peace and tranquility to the mind, which brings happiness to oneself. So the object of meditation we're going to use tonight is the mind of anger. So we're going to examine the mind of anger. It's just one technique or one way to examine our mind and applying meditation to that mind. So we all have a mind. So, and what do we mean by mind? I mean, that's something, again, we have to understand if we're going to meditate, and meditate is fully about the mind. What is the mind? So we all know, I guess, that the mind cognizes, that it's capable of conceptual thoughts. And it's through these conceptual thoughts that we interact with the external world. So basically the mind knows something, a thing. And then also the mind is capable of feeling. So emotions come from the mind. So for the point of tonight's exercise, that's what we're talking about with our mind. So the mind is how we interact in the world, with the world, how we project onto the world. You know? So we all have mind, as we all have body. But we can't know another person's mind, we can only know our own mind. And that's a very important aspect of meditation, which is understanding one's own mind. So understanding how those negative mind states arise, and understanding how to cultivate the positive mind states. So if you've come to an understanding that, yes, positive mind states make me happy, negative mind states make me unhappy, then you want to know how to cultivate the positive and how to eliminate the negative. And again, that is only, main way to do that is through meditation. And again, that is the purpose of meditation. So we can read all wonderful things, and we can go to lectures and read philosophers and lamas and things and hear about them, go to teachings. But it is only through the act of our engaging in meditation with our own mind that actual change happens. So that's really another important point. So when you read something or hear something, maybe even tonight, I don't know, that makes a bit of sense to you, that rings true, you know, that goes some way to changing your mind. But it is only through really applying it through meditation, a deep analysis, and gaining a deeper understanding that's true for your mind, yourself, your life, your relationships, that then it actually impacts on your mind in a very positive way. And that way, then you have some power, you have some real change within your own mind. And again, that's the benefit of meditation practice. It has a real impact on your mind. Just like dieting or exercise might have a real impact on your body, or taking certain medications. So we do things with our body when we want to change something. We'll take medications, we'll go for a jog, we'll not have the second piece of cake. But meditation is wanting to do something for your mind. But again, you have to do something. You can't just read, you can't just hear. Those things are really necessary because that's how we gain knowledge. But to change the mind, you have to do the doing, which is the meditation. And again, the mind really acts out of habituation. So the mind will always act out of habituation. So when we say that we're an angry person or a depressed person or an anxious person, you know, what are we really saying there? Are we really saying, I'm angry all of the time? I'm depressed all of the time? And is that reality? So that's something to examine. You know, these are the questions to examine for yourself in meditation, and see how your own mind is working. And then what you can do to change that mind, to take some control. So I think anger is a really good emotional state to work with. We all have it. We all get angry. And it's a very powerful mind state. It's a very immediate mind state to work with. And I think most people would agree that it is a negative mind state. If you really lose it, you'll say and do something you probably regret. And there's hurt and harm done to oneself or to others, which is really the what anger is. It's a mind of harm. You know, but we all fall into the trap of getting angry. So it is a really good mind state to work with for a lot of reasons. A, because it's one of those mind states we want to reduce, but it is a very immediate mind state to work with and understand. So anger starts from the mind of dislike. I dislike something, you know, because of something. So it's my ego externalizing the outside world, projecting out into the outside world and saying, I don't like this or that. So anger arises on the basis of this idea of like or dislike. So that could be on anything, as we know. You can get angry over anything. There's not one thing you cannot get angry over. If it exists, somebody can be angry about it. And that's the interesting thing about anger. Not everybody's angry about the same things. So therefore, is anger an external thing, problem with the object, or the problem with the perceiver's mind? So we were always angry about, if something always made us typically angry, where is that anger coming from? No. So these are the questions that we analyse in meditation. because they will give us the answer to what anger is and how does it work in our mind. What is happening to our mind that we get angry? You know, often we'll say, oh, because such and such did this and then such and such did that and I did that and they're really doing this and it really annoys me. And then they only have to come along and say something and you get angry. So what is happening that sequence of event can happen? So again, in meditation, we can start to understand. An interesting thing about anger and why it's quite a dangerous negative emotion is because once it arises, we lose control. We can't analyse that mind then. Once we're angry, bang, we will act. You know, I mean, it is good that advice now, don't send the email in the heat of anger, wait till the morning. You know, and that really shows you what's going on when one's angry. You know, you read that email in the morning and you think, whoa, so glad I didn't send that. You know, so what's happening in one's mind that when you wrote that email, you were so justified and you were so on point and it needed to be said and it was so clever and I'll really tell them. So, and that really is basically the mind of anger. Anger is colouring your perception at that point. So again, that's worth examining, it's worth understanding that, because usually we don't bother. Usually we think, well, that's how it is. We just get angry, we just lose it from time to time. We grovel later, we apologise and we all move on. You know, and generally that's probably okay. That's generally most people's lives. And to some degree that is okay, but if you want a deeper understanding of your mind and deeper control of so you don't lose it, or you can step back a little bit and view the world, then that's through meditation. So when we do these meditations on the anger mind, which we will do tonight, I'll ask you to recall an incident that occurred recently where you got angry, and not a big anger, but just somewhere where that's something you can analyse, something that you can work with. And I just want to say as well at this point that I'm not saying anger is not valid, because anger is valid. You know, we do dislike things, people do say harmful things to us. So it's a valid emotion. It's certainly valid because we all experience it. I mean, that's all a validation is, that we all are subject to it. And most people, sometimes they say, yeah, but you know, we're not meant to suppress anger. Suppressing anger is really bad. So again, meditation isn't about suppressing or denying anger. It's more about examining it, understanding it, and taking back some of that control. Because if you're in a rage, anger is possessing you. You know, you're not making a choice. The anger's making the choice for you. You know, and so you're acting irrationally. Yeah, so but not saying anger is not a valid emotion, it's just a valid emotion we don't want to be out of control in our mind. So quite a distinction there. And we all know, you know, real anger does, you know, end up in violent acts. I mean, I think that's, again, something we would all probably agree on. So we can easily say that expressed anger is not a good thing either. I don't know about suppressed anger. We're not talking about suppressing it. We're just talking about trying to eliminate it from our mind naturally. You know, not feeling it and then denying it. We're actually feeling it and examining it and seeing what happens. Feeling it and getting to know it and to understand it. But not feeling it and justifying it, externalising it and acting on it. That's how we usually act. And that's what gets us all into trouble and makes us all unhappy. So it is a really good emotion to work on, because it is that visceral and we all have good examples of it. So when we do the meditation, which we'll do in a minute, really, so just take just think of a time, when a neighbour annoyed you, one of your children came and pushed your buttons, or somebody cut in front of you in traffic, or somebody at work. There's lots of examples when we get annoyed or riled up and feel very justified for our stance. So that's important. So I'll ask everybody now to get themselves in a comfortable meditational position. And also, so again, just a warning, so don't go deep into your anger if there's trauma and really difficult, reasons for being really deeply angry. Again, I'm not minimising that. That's, again, a very valid emotion and a very valid state. So again, to start to work with your emotions, you just want to take the smaller issues, don't bring up something that you can't control. Because this isn't psychoanalysis, this is about dealing with your own emotions. So, and again, I'm not saying that that's not valid, it's just that what we're trying to do here is understand what happens in our mind when strong emotion arises. So we'll just sit for a minute. So when you go into meditation, take some deep breaths and relax your body. Try and loosen off any tension from the day. Some deep breaths. So now recall a recent time for you, where a strong or an emotion of anger, the emotion of anger arose in your mind. And let the emotion arise for you now. So really think about it and try and let that emotional state arise. Now be the observer of this. Now, if you find yourself getting caught up in the events and justifying the events and reliving them, notice this and resist doing it. So go back to observe the emotion only. Notice the impact it's having on your thoughts. On your physical body. again, catch yourself. Are you getting caught up in the drama, reliving the events? Now reflect. This emotion of anger is coming from my mind alone. Now again, try and let anger arise once more in your mind. And focus on the emotion, not on the events. Focus on the anger. So this time, recall the situation that made you angry, the sequence of events. And this time, instead of choosing to get angry or anger arising in your mind, this time imagine you just walked away. You didn't say anything. No emotion arose. You just walked away. Okay. We'll end the meditation here. So there are lots of conclusions. I mean, everybody had their own experience, so I don't know what one, anybody can draw lots of conclusions out of that meditation. And those sorts of meditations you can do and play with yourself and try and understand what's happening in your mind. I mean, some of the conclusions can be that even when you try and hold that strong emotion, which may be really strong, and the more you focus and focus on it, it actually tends to disappear. Do people find that? That it actually, when I said now focus on it and hold it, that it was actually really hard to do when you were more of the observer rather in the event. So what does that say about anger? No. But another thing we often do is obsess about anger. So when something annoys us, we can spend the whole next day thinking about that one thing over and over and over and over again. And really what we're doing is winding our mind up to become more and more and more angry just by obsessing those obsessive thoughts. So that obsessive thoughts, that's the opposite to meditation, because that's agitating one's mind and lessening the positive aspects of one mind. But we all do it all of the time. For a week we can play something niggly that happened to us on that person, and it adds to the scorecard on that person. And that person can make us really angry. But then when we sit down and analyse, is it the person that's making us angry, or are we making our mind develop a lot of anger within our own state of mind? And again, that's what that meditation is trying to get you to examine and answer for yourself. So, really useful. But I find with those meditations, it just shows you how we obsess and we do just create drama and drama in our mind. And that mind of anger is a mind that exaggerates the negative qualities of the object of our anger. And the object of our anger is an external person or thing. But the anger is clearly in our mind. Can people see from that meditation that the anger is actually within our own mind? 100%. I mean, the other person may have anger in their mind. We can't control their mind. We often try to spend a lot of energy, time. How am I going to get that person to do what I want or not do what I want? So much time and energy. Why we obsess and obsess about how they're annoying us. So again, meditation kind of flicks that on the head a little bit. So it is that non-analytical part of just focusing on the mental state of anger, and it just will disappear. Because anger is not a permanent state within our mind. It's a momentary emotion, and it has to be fed by our mind. So if we're not feeding it, it will naturally subside. It takes our thoughts, remember our thought processes, it needs our thinking to feed the emotion. So it's just a really simple meditation to do and to really think about. And whatever experience you have is valid for you, even if it's just a tiny insight, a little bit more, something you learn about yourself, your mind, your reaction, your habituation, your tendency. That's the valid part of meditation for you. That's your wisdom growing, And just very slow. It'll drop in the bucket, this stuff. And that's what the Buddha said, a drop in the bucket eventually will fill the bucket. Guaranteed. Just keep those drips in there. So that I guess the opposite to anger is the mind of, Well, I guess with anger, I mean, where is it coming from? I mean, that's what we have to look at too. Like, where does anger? Why do we get angry? Why do we externalise and get angry at that object? And we said that because we dislike something. You know, something's upset us, something's disliked. So all of these negative mind states come from a very egocentric view. So the stronger the egocentric view, and a Buddhist term would be the self-cherishing, me, cherish me above everybody else. The stronger that is within ourselves, the easier it is for negative emotions to arise. Because the stronger that negative I, the sense of ego cherishing, the negative ego, we all have an I, we're all people, but that sort of egocentric state of I, that self-cherishing mind, the stronger that is, the stronger the dislike. You made me unhappy, because you can't really get past that. So there will always be something, someone who will do to justify why you are unhappy, and then you're strengthening it. And so even through these meditations, we can learn to lessen some of this ego self-cherishing. Because the more we understand our mind, okay, we can't know another person's mind. I have no idea what another person's happening on anybody's minds here, no idea. But if I know my mind, I know you've got a mind like my mind. We're all the same in that way, with same sorts of bodies, same sorts of mind. So I can understand how you also come from an egocentric point of view, and how that may cause you some unhappiness and some pain, and that your anger is a result of you cherishing your happiness above all others. So that can give us some perspective on another person's anger. That makes us step back a little bit as well. So, and that's basically starting to develop a little bit of compassion for that person. So if I know my mind, and I know how crazy it is and unruly it is, and how easy it gets out of control, and I can see the consequences of that out of controlness causes me unhappiness, as well as others, then I can then empathise and sympathise with others, because they're exactly the same. Their minds are doing exactly the same things. And then that empathy and sympathy is basically the basis of compassion. So instead of getting angry back at them, we just go, step aside. No point getting angry here. I know how this works. You know. So again, that helps, that having that compassion for that person, and then we can have a basis and sympathy and empathy for that person and their mental states, and we don't have to buy in as much. So, and this is understanding as from a Buddhist perspective that all people want happiness and don't want to suffer. You know, it's the same, we're all the same. We're all the same in that way. But we're all the same, we all have the same sorts of body and mind, and they operate in the same manner. If we train them negatively, they'll become negative. If we apply some positive meditations and exercise and good food, then the body and mind becomes healthier, happier, fitter. You know, so we're all the same that way. You know, the doctor prescribes, you know, lower your cholesterol and that to everybody here. So it's understanding that mentally we're all the same. You know, we can't control somebody else's mind, but we can understand how it may be operating. So now we're going to revisit that meditation. And this time we're going to apply some love and compassion. So try and develop and see how that feels. So we'll do it and again see if that feels different. What's the experience like? So meditation is an experience. So again, relax the body. Take some deep breaths. So again, recall the same incident or even another one, a time where you became angry. And this time think about what happened, and how did you feel? Really try and recreate that feeling, that experience within your mind. Now think, this anger is arising in my mind. The anger has not been caused by the other person. It is my reaction to the other person. And now look at the person and feel sympathy for that person. And think, anger is arising in that person's mind. They have no control of that anger. It is causing them to act in ways that are hurtful and unhelpful. Just like me, they are only thinking of their own happiness. Just like me, their mind gets easily out of control due to anger and negative states. Now, from this understanding, develop compassion for that person by thinking, just as I don't want to suffer due to my uncontrolled negative mind states, I don't want this person to suffer due to their uncontrolled negative mind states. So really try and focus on that thought, on that intention. Bring some meaning to that. And with that intention firmly set in your mind, from your heart arises love in the form of rays of light. And that light goes to the person, enters the crown of their head, and fills them with that love. And as you're sending them more love, your whole body fills with love, and you feel great love and compassion. And you notice they feel great love and compassion. This is a really peaceful and happy state to be in. And feel it as you send the love to them and it fills up their body, makes them feel happy and relaxed. It comes back to you and then makes your body glow even brighter. And so it's feeding off each other in positive energy of love and a deep understanding of compassion. So now withdraw all the light back into your own heart. And just sit there feeling peaceful and relaxed. And now take some time to reflect on that meditation. How was it different to the first meditation? How have you deepened your understanding of negative and positive mind states? Just reflect for yourself what you've learned, what was valuable. Okay, and come out of that meditation. So that's all I really had to say tonight and to do. We can do a final meditation at the end, quick one. But before we do, does anyone have any questions or want to share their experience with? You don't have to, but you might want to. Or have any questions? Sure. Mm.
Last weekend I got angry. I actually verbalised that I was angry at myself.
Mm.
Because I said something disrespectful or stupid. Is that anger if it's yourself, or is that something else? It's not external.
I guess so. I guess you have to examine that. I mean, anger is also the mind that will exaggerate the negative qualities of the object. Well, we often, maybe that's what, some people say that depression is that kind of anger internalised. So instead of externalising anger and finding an external object to exaggerate negative objects because I don't like, we can do it to ourselves. So I would say, yeah. And that's what some explanation of depression is anger internalised. So you become the focus. And again, depression is a scale, a continuum, isn't it? You can be angry with yourself, I'm an idiot. God, that's embarrassing. God. And to the point where you can get catatonic depressions. So yeah, I would say definitely it's an internal object, yeah. Yep.
And would it be thought that fear was behind anger?
Yeah, I think so. I think fear. So the question was, sorry if you didn't hear, do you think that fear is behind anger? And I think that differs again for people, and I think you can only speak for yourself. And I think fear and anxiety are really prevalent in today's world, and possibly were in the Dark Ages probably too. But, we all tend to say it's a very anxiety, fearful world, anything could happen. So, I personally think, and that's probably based on my personal experiences. But yeah, so I think that's valid. Yeah. Mm.
Good question. If you're actually being verbally abused by somebody yourself, you have a mind that, to me, it seems more like the mind of distress. It's not even like it doesn't feel the same as anger, but there's still a, very strong emotion arises. Do you think that's anger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things. But I think that shock effect is the impact of somebody's anger on you.
Yeah.
And that shows you why it's a negative mind state, because it actually has a physical effect. They don't have to slap you for you to be shaken and feel, oh my God, what was that about? But the dialogue and the justification and the emotion that arises out of that, that becomes, oh, they made me feel, it becomes a very strong basis then to justify some negative emotion of anger. And you may be it may be related to fear and that you can't get past the fear. But again, there's different levels of emotional states and anger as well. But yeah, and if somebody's violent and abusive, obviously fear is going to dominate. But, we're talking still about the anger we have as well. And that we, yeah. But yeah, fear's always, I think to me that's why anger is so negative. People say, oh, well, you should be allowed to express anger. Kind of impacts the person in a bad way,
I guess my question too, though, was that feeling of distress that one feels when one is being verbally abused, is that a form of anger as well?
No, I think that's the harm I think that's just the harm that you experience from anger. Yeah. Yeah. That is the harm of anger. So if you want to know if anger is good or bad, we've all experienced the harm of anger. And
what I find is that sometimes, like, after that has happened, you go, hey, that wasn't okay. Like, that can be much later.
Yeah.
That will arise.
Yeah. Yeah. But then it will form the basis of anger later. Or whatever it was said that triggered that person, and then you justify all of that. And, you know, often there's a big backstory going on there that may happen, that may fill that in. Yeah. But yeah, I think that fear, that experience is the point. Anger is harmful. That is the harm. You know, our nervous system gets shocked and we feel, you know, again, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? You know, which is fear is an egocentric mind as well. I'm scared. Yeah, but... Mm-hmm. Yep, so the question was, if you have a person who consistently hurts you, how can you have compassion for that person? And again, I think that's why I said you don't start these with deep hurts, because that's, again, it's a continuum. You're not going to get to compassion for something really deep. You're going to start. Compassion comes with practice. You know, you start where you can. You be really realistic with yourself. I can't go there yet. There's so much hurt and trauma. I'm not even, you know, I'm still angry, and that's okay. You know, that's okay as long as that's acknowledged. But it doesn't mean, then you shouldn't say, well, therefore I can't develop any compassion for anybody. But don't start there. So the idea is start where you can. And we can all feel compassion if we hear of an animal was hurt. You know, we all naturally have a compassionate response, well, I hope so, when we hear about an animal, you know, or a child dying. You know, we have that, oh, that's terrible. So that's natural compassion in our mind. So that's natural compassion that we have already existing in our mind. So it's, again, how do you cultivate that mind to the point where one day you can turn to that person and you can say that, you know, it is possible, you know, it is possible to get there, but it may not be possible for everybody, or, you know, and some trauma and pain is really deep. So, like I said before, that's valid, it's very valid. But, you know, people who went through the Holocaust, and I've met people who went through the Holocaust, and the people who came out the best are the ones who could forgive. And I've met men and women who have totally forgiven and said that. I hold nothing. I totally forgive what happened. I was there. You know, they got the numbers. You know, so, and, you know, they've lived long, happy, fruitful lives and had children and moved on with their lives. So it is possible, but you just got to be realistic where you are, and then start, well, I'm just going to, the drop in the bucket. It'll eventually fill up, but it's just a drop, you know. So, yeah. So you have to be, with meditation, be very realistic with yourself. There's no one to fool in meditation, you know. We go out, we dress up, we think, oh, you know, we put on a bit of a show, I'm a confident, got this rockin'. We don't have to with meditation, you know. We have to be really honest with ourselves and meet our mind where our mind is, you know. Try and understand our mind for all it's, for where it is. And nothing's good or bad. We shouldn't then judge our mind. Oh my God, I'm so bad at this meditation, you know. Because it's our mind, it's where we're at, you know. That's what we have to understand. Whatever you do, even if it's just one little insight, that's a good meditation, you know. Or an insight that, oh, that was shocking. My mind was such a mess. My mind was all over the place. It was a really bad meditation session. That's also a bit of a win, because you noticed, you know. We come with so much expectation, which, again, I think expectation, our mind sets up expectation. I expect to be good at meditation. I expect to be able to tell everybody I meditate every morning, and therefore they'll think I'm good. They'll think I'm amazing. And so we're setting up all of these expectations, and then it's not met. I feel bad. Didn't work for me, it was all too hard. No, I'm so bad at this, terrible. You know, and then we get angry with somebody again. So yeah, it's to really work with your mind where it's at. And these meditations can be done if you had an incident at work and you're driving home. Think about it like we thought about it tonight. That's the meditation. That's an analytical meditation, to go through and think about it. Rather than increase the angry mind, justify, well, that person, wait till I see them next week. I'll let them know, and I'm going to tell such and such and such and such, and make sure, that's what we can do on our way home. Or we can think, well, what did I do? Yeah, probably shouldn't have done that. But what was happening for me? What could have I done better? Send them a bit of love. Let it go. That's also an analytical meditation. If it reduces your negative and increases your positive, that is. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Standing up to somebody who's doing the wrong thing,
Mm-hmm.
surely in a way that is compassion, because you're showing them that they're doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
helping them.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't mentioned that standing up to people that do the wrong.
Yeah, because that's not the mind of anger. So yeah, you're free to stand up to people. Hope people do.
Very important, I would say.
Very important. But that's not the mind of anger, is it? No. If you shouted them down, insulted them, threatened them, abused them back, that's the mind of anger. That's when you've lost control.
You have to be very firm and strong.
Yeah, but firm and strong. But firm and strong does not equal exaggerated harmfulness. So if you're saying being firm and strong, standing your ground, being firm and strong and assertive, if you're saying, I'm saying that that's a mind of harming, that's, you see, being firm and strong and assertive is great. But you can't be firm and strong and assertive if you've got the mind of anger. You'll be hurtful, you'll be, like Ingrid said, you'll be causing a lot of harm back. That's the difference, I think. Yeah. So, and it's hard. I think that's why, that's where you stand the ground if you can. For me, what helps me is that love and compassion one, because, when I think, when somebody really annoys me and they're really in my head and I'm building them up and they're so annoying, when I think, personally, would I want that harm to come to that person? Then I think, no, I'd feel really bad. And so I can work with that, and then that reduces anger in my mind, and then I kind of let go. And then when I talk to that person, I'm not so angry with that person, because I think, oh my God, imagine if something really bad happened, I'd feel so bad. So, it's just how you work with your own mind. But, yeah, hold it. And I think that is another fallacy that comes into anger all the time, that assertiveness and standing up for yourself that's a good thing. And it's really hard to do when somebody's angry. It's hard to do because they are so powerful. Because anger is a very negative, hard state to deal with if somebody's got intense anger. So it is okay to walk away too. That's okay if it's harming you. But if you've got the presence of mind to respond, that's even better. But that again, that's an individual. That's where you are personally, and sometimes you can do that, and sometimes you can't, depending on the experience. So thanks for bringing that up. I think it's a good point. Anything else I might have missed? Thank you.
I'd like to say that we have the source, we have the emotion, we have the feeling, and we have the awareness. But I think the base of this is how much we connect ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and find our own purpose in life
Mm-hmm.
and find a way to create self-love
Mm-hmm.
without condition.
Yep.
And the more we do it, the more we see love in the others, the
Mhm.
less judgment.
Yep. Totally agree. Yep. Yep. Self-love and loving others. Yep. Yep. Definitely. All right, well, that's probably time. We'll do a quick dedication or ending meditation to end in a good note. So the breath and the mind are closely related. So if our breathing is calm and regulated, our mind will naturally follow suit. So this is a simple meditation that we'll do for a few minutes using the breath. So this time we're going to maintain our awareness on the breath. And when we inhale, we're going to imagine all those good qualities of love and compassion from all the Buddhas and all of the holy beings coming into us, entering through our left nostril in the form of white light. And it goes down to our heart, and again it fills us with their love and compassion. And it stimulates the love and compassion in our own mind, and it increases the love and compassion we have in our own mind. And when we exhale, all of those negativities, all of our anger and jealousy and pride, hatred, ignorance, conceit, we exhale out in the form of black light, black smoke, and it completely dissolves into the space. So we just dedicate all the efforts we did in meditation today. That we be fruitful in our meditation and gain happiness and end our suffering. And we bring benefit to others. And we practice non-harmfulness. Thank you, everybody. So that's end of tonight. There's tea and coffee and cake in the dining room if you'd like to stay. And safe journey home.